All right, ladies and gents, it's Zem back with uh, another video on. This one's actually going to be on bots, right? Probably the most frustrating part of this game is bots. Uh, I'm talking about the red and blue ones. They are how many games? I can't even think of the number of games. It's just like, why are they doing what they're doing, and where they're going, why they're going there, and what's wrong with them. And after watching a ton of old replay videos and trying this in the training room, I have a general overview of why they do what they do, and where they go, and what they're trying to do. And this kind of actually falls in line with the video that I did with air defense fighters about air defense fighters and ground targets, about what it takes to take an objective. And I think from all the stuff that I've watched, the training rooms that I've run, they have a tendency to follow that same sort of role that we talked about in those other videos about where they're going and how they're doing. Of course, this has nothing to do with the human pilots in the game. This is just the bots. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually run this training room here. It's just a lot easier for me to control this game, at least the video part of it, for you guys to understand what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to bring up here Collision, which is the Alpine Gamut, this is an interesting map because it has one objective that requires ground targets to be destroyed. And what you'll watch in this video, from the spawn, when we spawn here, you will see the, and I think from what I've gathered from all of this video watching and watching the bots, is that there seems to be a certain ranking system in objectives for the bots, right? So you'll see in this video, according to the role that the aircraft is supposed to play, is what objective that the bots tend to, I shouldn't say tend, they always do go to. So in this situation, we have a military base, right? So the military base, when we will spawn out of this game, you'll see here, you'll see heavy fighters and ground attack planes go directly to the military base every time. Why? Because there's ground targets to be destroyed, and they don't. I mean, yeah, there's ground targets at the air base and at the garrison, but those can be taken without actually having to destroy ground targets. They can be taken by just blowing out air defense fighters. Where the military base just needs, you have to shoot down air defense fighters, and you have to destroy ground targets. So what you'll see is the heavy fighters and the ground attack planes will always go to those objectives: military bases, command centers, and mining facilities. Those are the three that those two lines of aircraft, ground attacks and heavy fighters, will go to more times than not. Actually, every time. Now the mining one is not necessarily always heavy fighter. That one is a little weird. Sometimes you'll see heavy fighters go there. Sometimes you won't. I don't know. It depends if they're carrying ordnance or not. I'm not sure. But you always see the ground attack planes usually will go in that direction. If there's one there, or if there's obviously those kind of objectives, the three that I just listed, they will go to one of those three, right? They'll never go to ground attack planes from the spawn. Will never go to airbase or garrisons ever. So now the light fighters and the multi-roles will always either go to the garrison or the airfield. Now in this training room, the garrison is much closer, but they actually end up going toward the airbase, and I think that's because it has that repair symbol. Therefore, it is a more valuable objective, and that's where they will go. And you'll see the red team's bots do the exact same thing, and you'll see actually the military base. You'll see our heavy fighters and ground attack planes go there, and you'll see the red team's heavy fighters and ground attack planes go directly toward it, right? It's 99% that they're going to do it. I mean, it's every game, training rooms, in game. That's exactly where they're going to go. every time. So I'm actually going to create this real simple. I'm going to do this with a team 1s and team 2s. I'm actually going to put one fighter on team 2, one multi-role on team 2, one heavy fighter, on one attack plane. Yeah, and I'll do the exact same thing for my team. Okay, so that is even Steven, other than me kind of being as the observer. Now, when you watch the initial spawn, you'll watch us all take off from spawn, and that's how the spread's going to go. Ground attack, heavy fighter center, and multi-role light fighters to the airbase. Now, what's interesting is after, for example, we're going to go to the military base here. When we shoot down the red players, or the red bots, they will continue to come back to the military base. The ground attack plane and the heavy fighter will continue to just keep going at the military base until they either shot down or they take it. They'll do it every time, all the time. Same way with the multi-roles and the light fighters. They will continue. Oops. So now you'll watch this here. Okay, so look, multi-role, light fighter, heading toward the airbase. Ground attack, heavy fighter, heading toward the center military base. I'm sorry, the multi-role light fighter are heading toward the airfield. Now what we're going to do here is, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Inside the objective, the bots will always attack the air defense fighters before they'll do anything else. This ME-262 will spend most of his game chasing those air defense fighters. They'll completely ignore me, unless I'm on his tail, of course. But for the most part, he will simply just keep going after air defense fighters until he's dead. Alright, so he's dead. Now, you're going to watch shortly, he's going to come right back. And once again, if there is no air defense fighter here, that's the only time you'll start engaging us, my bots, or me. Otherwise, you'll always go after the air defense fighters. Now, the only time that this ever gets really kind of strange is unless they are intercepted or engaged outside of the cap, or outside of the objective. So now if I wandered outside the objective between here and their spawn, and they run into me, they're actually going to engage me first before they get to the objective. But if left alone by themselves, they will just continue on here. So now we have this objective, and now you'll notice our ground attack and heavy fighter have moved off, right? They are no longer interested in this objective because we have it, we own it. Oh, here comes their heavy fighter. He is back over here again. He is once again after the objective fighters, the air defense fighters, right? He is completely ignoring me and only attempting to shoot down self defense fighters. Now you notice now that my multi-role and my light fighter are still fighting over the bottom corner. And this is absolutely, unequivocally happens every time. The bots do. The only time you get any odd things out of them is when they are engaged outside of the objective point. If they're left unmolested, they will continue to return to this objective no matter what. if I can hit him today. All right. So now you've seen that. You see the ground attack plane off to the side over there. He actually ran into that ground attack plane over there on the outside edge. And I think that's the reason why he turned off. Now, he'll eventually die, and we'll once again attempt to return here. Now, we're still fighting over these objectives. So, like I said, once we got this cap here, now that it's changed, you saw my ground defense or my ground attack plane leave, and you saw my heavy fighter leave because the objective is taken. They're not sticking around, right? Of course, the multi-role and the light fighter in the south, obviously one of them got shot down and now is respawning, and he's going to continue to return to that objective until it's taken. Back and forth, back and forth. The only time this ever changes is when they are intercepted outside of the objective, is when they run into a blue plane outside of the objective. It's like there's like a shield or something around these objectives. If you're outside of it, is about the only time they'll actually engage you. So once again, heavy fighter returns, and here he is. He's back over here trying to kill my self-defense fighters. Once again, just completely ignoring me. He's only concerned with killing these fighters. And we'll shoot him down once again. And of course, here comes the ground attack plane. Not just completely oblivious to what's, he just can continue to come here until he destroys it. Unless he is, of course, somehow, he notices something, but most of the time, he's all about coming back here to the center. So I can leave him alone, and like I said, he'll continue to go back and forth like this or whatever. And here comes my ground attack plane. He's actually taking that other objective. So he has no interest in anything, and he's changed his direction to the other objective that's not taken yet. So now he's going to run off. Of course, I love ground attack planes with their ridiculous rear-mounted gunners that just eat shit left and right. So, we've taken all the objectives, game pretty much over with. But you're kind of seeing what I'm talking about here with the objectives and how the bots are operating and what they're doing. They're not simply just randomly flying around and around and around. Heavy fighter's back again. And he's going to be after my, once again, self-defense fighters. But like I said, they are predictable. They're not just simply flying around willy-nilly and that kind of stuff. So it's just a matter of kind of understanding that and how they operate to get the most out of the game experience with them, whether it's bots on your team or on the other team. Now, I hope you guys have been understanding what I'm talking about, and you obviously can go test this. You can go in the training room. You can do it in actual flight and watch what I'm talking about with these bots. So what we've covered so far, and what we've gone over so far, light fighters, multi-roles, will only attack places that can be taken with simply shooting down planes, right? So your bots will go to air bases, garrisons, airfields, that kind of stuff. That's where they'll go first. They'll continue after those objectives. So they take one objective, they'll go to the next airfield or garrison over and over again. They won't actually come back to a mining plant or any of that kind of stuff until later. But for the most part, they will just continue on taking those objectives that they can take without taking out any ground targets. And they will continue doing that over and over and over again until the objective is taken. You've watched in the video where the multi-role and light fighter, one of them was shot down, and the objective wasn't taken, so he's going to go back to it over and over and over again. Same way with the ground attack planes and the heavy fighters. The only time they're released from taking those objectives is once they're taken, and then they will split and go to other places, other objectives. But until that objective is taken, they will continue going to it over and over and over again. The only problem is unless there is something they run into outside of the objective. So between their spawn and the objective, if they run into a bunch of blue fighters or ground attack planes or whatever, that's the only time they seem to deviate from going straight to an objective. Is when they run into something that's outside of that objective. Between them and the spawn, between their spawn and their objective, is the only time they seem to deviate from that objective, returning to an objective. So something to remember. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Hopefully it helped me out by spending the time to go through it and understanding why the bots do what they do and where they go and what they do and why they do it. The only really weird thing that I've noticed about all this stuff is the apparently someplace later in the game they'll kind of switch into a defense mode, and I'm not sure. I haven't figured quite out exactly why they do it, whether it's superiority points, squall line, or what. But you'll notice all of a sudden like 3 bots circling an airfield or an objective. I haven't quite figured it out, and I've been looking and I've been watching videos, but I'm not sure what triggers that. So if anybody catches it or figures it out why it's doing what it's doing, send me a PM or something like that, or even a replay would be great, and tell me what your theory is on why the bots are doing the way they're doing it. So hopefully this helps you guys out. You guys have a good Sunday. I'll have some more videos up later tonight, so you guys have a great day. Okay.